great to be here. So, yeah, my name is Scott. I am a film director, principally. And for me, we're going to talk to you today about the future of filmmaking, as far as we see it. For myself, I am very familiar with all the pains of filmmaking, as much as I love doing it, and it's obviously a subject close to my heart. It's very difficult to do well. One of the principal reasons of that is how expensive things are, how you're essentially amassing a 100-person army, all to kind of gather around to shoot material that then is kind of locked in place that you move through. It's a very slow process, very cumbersome, very expensive. And the other thing that's always very limiting is limited audience reach. And this kind of speaks to the fact that when we're making films, we're typically making them for the home language that they're made in. Not just from a language point of view, but culturally of what the film's about. Films don't really travel for several different reasons. And that limited reach then constrains budgets and the opportunity to reach more audience is a real problem that we're facing with the industry. And I think a lot of the problems, if you really look at it at a high level, come from those two factors, limited audience and rising production costs. And I actually came across a technology about 5 years ago, which I felt was a solution or offered a potential solution to those problems. It's a technology which you would today call generative AI. And I'll show you a little clip of what Flawless does, a clip from one of my movies, that hopefully the sound will work and it'll all be great. If we can watch this.
Now we're stuck on this stupid tower in the middle of nowhere. And I don't blame you, and now we're stuck on this stupid... Now we're stuck on this stupid freaking tower in the middle of freaking nowhere. And it's all my fault.
Que veces
Y es todo por mi culpa.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. So it's kind of very exciting stuff, being able to modify something after the fact. But it's also very scary, obviously. This is a very different thing than we're used to seeing. And so really it's all about how can Hollywood adopt AI responsibly. And that's the journey that we went on with Flawless and what we felt was necessary to make this tool useful for filmmaking. So the three things that we had to figure out how to build out of Flawless was cinematic quality. This is of the highest, most discerning eyes, highest resolutions. We needed global scalability, and most importantly of all was the responsible AI component. And what we did with Flawless is we built a platform. It's a generative AI platform that uses the ACES Color Space Academy system, highest quality you can get. We deliver it Ultra HD. We've actually delivered for IMAX. The scalability, we're part of the trusted partner network by the Motion Picture Association of America on cloud. And responsibility is a system called the Artistic Rights Treasury, which we've purpose-built from the ground up. And this is a journey we've been going on for over 3 years now to build this out. And really what we've ended up with here is a generative AI platform that's built on artistic rights that can offer cinematic output. So what we want to show you today are two pieces of software, which from today we're going to open up for early access release. Now, TrueSync and Deep Editor, they're both for different uses. One addresses the use of audience reach and distribution. So one is particularly focused on localization industry, and the other is Deep Editor, which is more filmmaking and directing in that world. So I'll try and whistle-stop you through these. So TrueSync, the whole idea is, and the problem that it's addressing really is the immersion problem of getting a film playing in a foreign language that is as authentic as the original. So what this does is it uses generative AI it's kind of a fix for film doing, to create perfectly lip-synced films. I'll walk you through a typical process on one of the projects going through now. It'll all begin, there's some kind of techie stuff going on, but it all begins with a studio granting flawless access to a piece of media, a film, such as this one here. And what happens is it, first of all, goes through the artistic rights treasury. And that's important to label everything that is seen in the film individually and elementally. So in particular, the actors, it's split it out from scenes, shots, and the characters playing. And then it does a process which is some really cool kind of deep learning stuff, which kind of takes a lot of measurements on what things look like from a volumetric space. And ultimately, all this is doing is extracting information so that it can take a two-dimensional film and make it into a three-dimensional version. And all those ingredients then get put together to create this, which is, now what you're looking at there is a neural render. It's kind of a digital double, but again, at the extreme high resolutions, extreme photorealism, where that 3D representation there, it has the ability to be modified. And that's key to using any of these tools. So the typical process will be the film will be prepared. All of this stuff kind of goes on automatically under the hood. And then the studio will have a dashboard with all the film and the assets. And when they want to and who they want to, they'll send it off to approved localization partners, whether it's one partner or 20, they'll grant them access to that project. And so what we've built flawless around here is to utilize the localization network that's already in place today, because there is a global localization network which is already been through many iterations generationally, and great localization houses around the world. So the example we'll give here, which is a project going on right now, I think this is, yeah, so this is screen recording. Some of you might recognize this kind of thing. So this is actors recording the new dialogue for a film project that's going on at the moment. This is actually taking place in Sweden. They're recording the dialogue, and the process goes that the localization house records the dialogue. They do it very well, although the actors are slightly flubbing their lines there, and there's the director. But they prepare that data, and then the next stage in our pipeline is that's put into and uploaded into the project. So this goes into the project that the localization house have access to. It goes in, ingested into the system, and basically from there is it resyncs the movie to that new dialogue. And one of the great things about the system is it's very, very safe and secure. Like typically, in the olden days that a lot of us will know, and which some of us, well, I still live in some respects, we're copying media to move it around. But that's obviously very bad. It's very unsafe in reality. So what this system does is it keeps the media in one place, it keeps the asset in one place, and people are just connecting through it using that scalable internet system. So what happens is they get an automated version, and then you see here the software actually in use on that project, which is a tool, which is TrueSync itself in use, where localization experts are able to check the synchronicity, check the performances, and really use the skills that they've honed for years. It's really a power tool for them to get to hone that process in. And they'll work through that. It's been built for them. And then to give you an example of one of the outputs, this is a project happening right now. Here's the original version of that shot.
Bonden såg var det som pappa har letat efter hela tiden. Det som tog honom.
That's in Swedish. And then if we show them TrueSync.
What if the farmer saw the same thing Dad's been searching for? That took him.
So that is an example of an output. We obviously do it the whole movie, play out the whole movie. And the whole idea there is that the immersion as a filmmaker, you're able to really immerse in the project. That's from a project called UFO Sweden, which we'll see in American cinemas early next year. And here's a few of the projects that Flawless are working on right now to translate into authentic versions for different languages around the world. So I think with this tool and with this rolling out, it's allowing at scale to be able to enjoy cinema, open up audiences, and really increase that audience reach in the way that as filmmakers we really want to happen in a very authentic way. So that is TrueSync, and then I will skip over to the next product, which is Deep Editor. So Deep Editor, again, focusing on dialogue changes. This is focused on a different end of the market in terms of editor and director. Now, the problem that you often come across is, yeah, the inability to move what has been shot. It's kind of locked in place on set, and then to go back for a reshoot, for example, or to redo things, it can cost up to $500,000 a day. I think those costs are principally the big problem we have with film production today. And so what this allows you to do is make changes. And Jim, hopefully if this goes well, will live demonstrate the software right now with us here. So I think you're going to flick to Avid. And this is, yeah, we're using Fall as an example again, a project that I did. And I think if you want to play that clip.
Yeah, so we're here in Avid, a very common film editing suite. And we're going to play the original shot that we're going to modify.
Facing your fears, you are so much stronger than you think you are. So shut your shit and let's do this.
Fuck. Bad language. And then in this instance, there was a scene which was cut, which was Becky, the lady on the right, the left there, played a performance in a completely different scene in very different conditions, different makeup conditions, different lighting conditions, different day. If we can just play that clip that we want to use.
Enter I just I can't.
And really, we want to put that into the scene. And now, again, the traditional way of doing this, I guess, would be going back and do a reshoot and do these kind of things. But we're going to hopefully demonstrate quickly how easy that is to do in this system.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So as I mentioned, we're here in Avid. And as Scott had mentioned earlier with TrueSync, our goal is to really make the power of this technology very easily accessible to existing workflows, existing skill sets. And so for the editor, we want to be able to tie this into the editing package in some way. So we've built the TrueSync plugin for Avid. And if I open up the plugin panel, I could grab the Deep Editor plugin, and I could drag it here onto the timeline. Now what's happening here, let me close this up. What's happening here is it's analyzing the two clips. Because I have the two clips up in the monitor, it knows that I'm working with these two clips, and I'm going to want to take one of the performances from one of the clips and then transfer it over to the other one. And so it's actually been able to identify who the character is. This is Becky in this case. And it gives me the ability to select, what is this? Is this the source? Is this a shot that I want? Or is this the performance, the driving data that I want to copy over to that? And then once I've set that up, I've kind of configured what the shot, what I want to do with Deep Editor, I can go ahead and hit Edit in Deep Editor. And so that takes us over into the Deep Editor view. So this is the Deep Editor product. And if you're, a film editor or if you've used other editing packages, it should look pretty familiar. You got a timeline, you got, the monitoring. And in essence, we have the two shots that we have configured from Avid. I'll go ahead and play this one.
Enter I just I can't.
So that's the dialogue that we want, and we're going to move it over here into this shot where originally she wasn't saying anything. Okay, so to do this, I need to tell Deep Editor, what I want to do. So I actually just click on this particular shot. Now I've already set up, and put a timer on where, or a marker on where I want the performance to start, and I just simply drag it over. And what this is initiating is what we call a performance transfer. If I go ahead and start that, what's happening in the background here is that Deep Editor is analyzing that shot, and much like what we saw with TrueSync, it's tracking the face, it's understanding the expressions and the movements of that mouth, essentially the performance. It's extracting that from the original shot. And now it's taking me to the editor view, and you can see this funny mask, kind of scary mask on the actress. What this represents is the driving data. This is the new performance. And so before we actually do a photorealistic render, we want to be able to kind of test it out, make sure it looks good. We actually have some tools to tweak it if we want to, but I'm going to go ahead and play that.
Enter I just I can't.
All right, so if I wanted to maybe blend things in and out a little bit, or if I wanted to maybe take the scale of the performance down a little, I have that ability to do so, but this looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to go ahead and render this. Now, when we say render, what it's doing is it's taking that performance or the driving data information, and it's handing that over to the neural network model, the neural renderer And this is what Scott was alluding to earlier, where we create and train models against the character's information so that it knows how to reproduce a two-dimensional, reproduction of that character. And because it has the information of that performance, it's able to sync that up with exactly the performance that we want. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like.
Underrated as I can.
Not bad. What do you think?
I think it's very good, yes. Very good, great. Do you want to see it in Avid?
Yeah, let's go back to Avid. We'll take a look at the completed shot, because the original shot, there's a few things we wanted to change.
Yeah.
All right, so let's play this.
Got them in, right?
Yeah.
So, cool.
Go ahead and play that.
Facing your fears,
Underrated as I can.
you are so much stronger than you think you are.
Thanks.
Let's do this.
Fuck.
Yeah, and so you might also notice that we did a couple of other things to that shot. We scaled down performance on one of the lines. We took out another swearing line and did some other tweaks and really kind of nurtured that into the scene that I wanted it to be. So I think it's really about having the ability to do more, to edit more deeply, and get the best performances together. So and the impact I would say this makes to my life as a director, I think, is not just in the edit. Like now, shooting movies, I'll shoot them differently because I know that I can capture a performance in a certain shot, and if the performance is great in that shot, I can take it in other shots, and it loses a lot of the repetition that filmmaking usually is to repeat things from various different angles. So it really creates it's a very powerful tool as a director to be able to do these things. So there's, I'm glad that went well, by the way, Jim. Very smooth. Here to walk. Yes, let's see if this one goes well. Right, so what we want to do is, now what we're actually going to show you here is actually a prototype of something we're working on for next year. So this isn't in the first two products that are coming out today, but this is something that we think taps straight into the heart of the AI debate that's going on right now. And really we want to show this demonstration of why we built the Artistic Rights Treasury, why that's important, and the way that we've approached this from the get-go. So this is very similar to the last one, but you can see it exposes text running along the audio. There's another thing that was captured during that ingest process, so it understands what's being said, and it's exposing the text itself. So if we watch that back, Jim.
Oops.
Oh. And after Dan died, I just didn't have the strength to be there for you, to be strong enough for you, so I ran away.
Right. So, so I think as a writer, you're obviously putting these lines out there. It can take several years before they're even performed, as a filmmaker will say, and then several months before you see them all in context. And so it's very common to come back to the editorial to edit, and you want to change those things. So what we wanted to do is put together the writing very close with the edit itself. And now Jim can click on these speech and edit that dialogue, edit the text of that dialogue, hopefully.
Right.
Can you?
Hold on.
Okay, maybe not. We'll see. Can Jim do this? It's went so well before.
There we
edit
go.
dialogue. Okay,
yes.
Great.
So originally she said, and after Dan died, right?
Yeah. Okay. So do you want to put something else in there?
Yeah.
Since you ran away. Is that?
Let's see.
And then he ran away.
And now I messed it all up.
Okay. Yes, that's the one we did before. Yeah, I remember. Okay.
And now I messed it all
up.
I misspelled it.
Don't mess it up. Right. Okay. So new text, new dialogue. That's sending that off, and then at the last line there, if we can change that strong enough for you. So I'm so sorry, Jim.
Yep.
If it works again, we'll see.
There
you go. It's just prototype, so we're allowed a little edge on this one.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. So that's going off.
Okay. So now what's happening here is it's taken in that text, and it's actually generating an entirely new performance, both video and audio. Right?
So it's a whole new performance, I think. And then when that gets sent off to update, what we'll notice, if it all goes to plan here.
We're going to go ahead and render this out.
Okay, so the big thing you'll notice, well, should we take a watch of it and then?
Yeah, let's watch it.
Okay, so let's see how that turned out.
Bring this up.
And now I messed it all up. I just didn't have the strength to be there for you, to be strong enough for you, so I am so sorry.
So, okay, great. So the first line's pretty good. The second line, not so sure, but basically it's created this new thing. But what that does, really, it presents a problem, right? Because the actor has not consented to that line. It's one of the reasons it comes up in particular, consent required. And what we've done with this system is made it so you can't export, finish it, and put it out there unless explicit consent is gained. And so running through the artistic rights treasury, we are able to send this off for a consent request. So if you could send that off to actress.
Say, hey, Jenny, can you provide your consent to these takes?
It's okay, great. And that hits send. And to demonstrate this and how it connects to the real live world, I would like to present to the stage the real live non-AI Virginia Gardner to help us through this demonstration, please. Right, it's going to go great, Jenny. It's going to work really, really well.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, what could go wrong here doing
app.
this now?
Okay.
Right, so that's been sent to you. Do you if you want to
So I sent you a new consent request through the Art app, and essentially the Art application or the Art app is the portal for actors into this world of managing their rights and consent within AI. So for that consent request, go ahead and click in it to review it.
Okay.
Very good. Now you'll see a few things on here. There's information about, in addition to the clips, there's information about what we've done and the kind of consent we're asking for. So, we're saying, hey, we've created an AI reshoot. Do you consent to that? There's some information on payment, so you actually get, compensation for this as well, even though you didn't have to go into the studio.
Great.
So go ahead and review that first clip just by clicking on the video.
And now I messed it all up.
I'm going to turn up the volume a little bit. Go ahead and try that one time.
Okay.
And now I messed it all up.
All right. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Looks
Thumbs
good.
up?
Thumbs up.
All right.
Thumbs up, thumbs up.
Thumbs
Okay,
up.
so I thumbs up it.
Yep. Yay.
All right. There's a second clip.
Okay.
Go ahead and review that.
I am so sorry.
Okay, so I don't love that one as much.
No, I don't love that one either. And as a director,
As a director.
I would probably say to you, Ginny, I think we can give that one another.
All right. Well, we have some options.
Yeah,
You can
very
do-
good.
Great.
Go ahead and give that one a thumbs down.
Thumbs down.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. Now you see this red button on there.
Yes.
Record alternate take.
Okay.
Essentially, what this is a studio in your pocket. Go ahead and hit that button. Now.
Hello.
Oh, look at that. What you see here, you have your reference video on the upper right.
Okay.
When you hit record, you will see the line of dialogue scroll across to help you with the timing.
Very convenient.
Yeah. And then go ahead and hit record.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
You think?
That's good. I think that's good, Ginny.
Happy?
Yeah. Take one, Ginny, every time. Yeah, no, that sounds great.
So you see the take is down there at the bottom. Hit
Yes.
attach. And then type a little message, can you use this take instead?
Great.
So obviously I'll be in the editorial suite at this point, and this can happen this rapidly, so I'll be in the edit with my editor, and it can be an iteration as quick as
Amazing.
that.
That was pretty easy.
That was easy.
Is that easier than doing a reshoot?
Easier than going in for ADR, and as long as we're getting paid for it, then it's in my it's an ADR booth in my pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's great.
See if it actually
On mirror.
no, that's amazing. So,
All right, so let's see.
Go on, Jim. You got this. You got
go
lots of
back.
devices,
Oh,
lots
boy,
of live
fingers
stuff
crossed.
going down. Yeah, no pressure, no pressure. Okay.
Hey, okay, so we got some responses from Jenny. First one approved. You like that one?
Yeah, like that one.
Second one you did not like so much, but you gave me an alternative take. So let me click on that. Let's review this.
I'm so sorry.
That is better. All right. Approve?
Approve.
All right.
Director approves?
Director approves. That one, yes, director approves.
God. Let's render this and take
Halloween mask, this, Jenny.
It is a bit creepy.
It is very creepy, yeah. Yeah, sorry.
We make it.
We can work on that.
We could. All right, so let's go back and listen to this last part.
I'm so sorry.
Well done, Jim.
Very
Thank
good.
you very
Thank
much.
you, Jim.
Well done.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely amazing. So yeah, so that's That's really, yeah, it's the way we've approached it. I think I personally believe that these tools, these really are kind of the future of filmmaking. I think used right and used responsibly, it's actually going to have a huge, very positive impact to our industry. I actually think we need this kind of fundamental, innovative change to really make a difference to the industry, and I think this offers it. As a filmmaker, I get very excited about this stuff, and hopefully you guys are too. So thank you very much, and I think we're going to do questions now. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Frier. I run our big tech coverage. I'm here to talk to Jim and Scott about what they just showed you, which blew my mind. I want to just put this in context a little bit, because when you talk to people about this shift in AI, like, well, it's like any other technological shift, right? We've had CGI, we've had green screening. Like, how would you guys say this is different than what the industry has experienced before? Like, how would you put it in perspective?
I think it's as big as the invention of the film camera. I think it's that big, right? Because it changes the fundamental ways we tell stories, we make movies. I think it's that big, really. AI, it can be that.
And, although the actress was able to get paid for her reshoot of that moment, I mean, there are other people involved in that process,
absolutely,
right? Who would have gone into work that day and didn't have to. And that is one of the benefits and curses of technology. And since we're in the midst of strike talk.
Yeah, we are. This is true, yeah.
Topical.
You're very topical. Yeah, good timing of us to do this demonstration.
Yeah, I mean, how do you guys deal with that? How do you reckon with the lost jobs? And
I don't think there is going to be lost jobs. I think there's going to be job gains. So I actually think that as an industry, we are, look, films are too expensive. They're not working, right? It's highly risky from an investment point of view as an industry. And it all comes down to the fact that we're still making films very similar for the last 100 years, the same ways. We haven't really embraced new breakthrough technologies as much. I think Hollywood has actually done best when it has embraced innovation and it's taken it forward responsibly. And I think ultimately for the question of industry and work, really what this is going to result in is better movies that are able to reach more audiences. And in doing that, the industry thrives. It's not about kind of cutting back. I think what at least I can see from the general, what's going on at the moment, we're kind of doing these cutbacks, and it's like trim a job here, trim a job there, try to squeeze it. But actually, we need a fundamental change to make better movies that travel further. And I think when you look at a limit of a 400 million English language audience, for example, that is primarily the audience for something we make today, if we can expand that up to almost 8 billion potential audience members, that goes further. And I think there are multiple kind of effects that's going to have that are extremely positive. And I think we'll be shooting more, and the industry ultimately will thrive from this.
Or you may have like more content that you can do more quickly for niche audiences.
Well, I think it's going to breed. We can't afford originality right now, let's be honest, right? We can't afford it, and we're in a state where that's what we really need. That's that freshness, that surprise.
I know you all have questions, so please put them in with your QR code. We'll do our best to get to them. But I also just wanted to get a sense of like how you worked with the industry, because that's part of your pitch, right? You've been in the thick of it with people who are doing this day in, day out to figure out what they would be okay with.
Well, I think, look, the truth is Flawless is made up of filmmakers. Primarily, it's like there's 100 humans strong at the moment, but we're a large portion.
What were the hardest debates, though?
In terms of the filmmaking process? Well, we're making these tools really for us as filmmakers, right? So we're looking at it from across the spectrum of that. It's a very specific industry. There's lots of considerations. But yeah, I think the big thing that we knew from day one was artistic rights and copyright is the heart of the system, right? You can't have commercial generative AI with having clean data, clean rights. So I think we built the system for that. And what we're seeing kind of unfold is kind of what we expected, which is if you don't treat that seriously, you do not have a commercial system and not something that can be adopted and used, because it's going to kill jobs, not create jobs. So I think we went about it the right way, and I think we engaged with all the unions and everyone involved industry side and really made sure these were built for them and for those needs.
And at the same time, you're doing this in concert with the industry. There are generative AI consumer tools that are just being used day in, day out, that are built upon the entirety of the content on the internet.
Yeah.
Do you see that as competitive at all? Do you see that as things that filmmakers won't ever be able to use anyway because it just won't?
I think from a rights
legally
point
viable.
I think from a rights point of view, if people are kind of taking rights without permission and essentially scraping rights, it's a problem, right? That's not commercially viable. It's not, and I think that's playing out through the courts at the moment. And I think it'll land on the side on the right side of this, which is copyright, and all these rights need to be protected and endorsed. So,
What were the challenges in building this kind of technology, Scott? Like the things that make it feel natural and seamless in different languages. Was it ugly before it looked like that?
First of all, I think the science behind this is really pretty incredible, and so we've been fortunate enough to work with the seminal author. They've written seminal papers in this domain. We have on our staff the people that are really leading this whole thing. But in addition to that, the biggest problems we're trying to make sure that this was accessible to the creators, right? The people that had to actually use the tools. We weren't building this for scientists. In fact, we're not even really building it for visual effects artists and specialists. We're building it for editors. We're building it for localization teams. So that was a huge part of the problem. And then also it's harnessing this kind of technology in a way that also gives you control. And I think that's kind of a unique thing. We've built these kind of tools that we showed you that actually give you the ability to kind of nudge things in the right way. And having said that, it's also tricky that you don't want to go too far, because as soon as you start nudging too much, it starts to become looking puppeted, and that's not good either. So it's all about finding the right balance, like let the AI do what it needs to, but give the creator, the artist, enough control that it's doing what the creator wants. I think,
and alongside that, I think the other big challenge that was also, we have a complex industry and workflow that the industry follows for a very good reason as well, and it's kind of plugging into that, so it's recognizable to localization houses who are the experts in local language lip synchronicity. Build that for them. Same with editors, directors, make it for them and slide into the workflow so people can adopt this quickly and responsibly.
What kind of resistance have you faced, if any, from the industry?
From industry? Well, yeah, I think a lot of the thing that I think we've come across is when people don't know the kind of responsible path we took, actually. Because I think AI for a long time kind of got bundled into one. I think it probably is now, and it is for a lot of people with the first time, they will hear about what we're really doing. Because as soon as you say AI, you kind of get bundled into the bad group that are kind of taking things that they shouldn't and doing things in the way they wouldn't. But so I think I think communication, honestly, has been. But we found that I think that AI is going to really, used in the right way and made as tools for creatives is going to be. It's very exciting. It can really enhance, and it's going to make that industry thrive. So it's very exciting. I think when we meet filmmakers, editors, and everyone across the spectrum, and we show them the tools, it's kind of like the excitement of what is possible. It gets to the roots of who we are really as artists.
What kind of disruption or maybe opportunity do you see with this tool with the foreign film industry? That's a question from our audience.
Shall I? Yeah. I think, if you look at the films that we're even working on now, right? There are some incredible films you're going to see next year that you would have never seen, right? There are incredible film centers around the world, and most of us in, say, English-speaking audience, we don't even know they exist, right? We have a few outliers that bubble through, and you'll get your Squid Games and Parasites, and you get things that come through. But generally, films don't travel because of the language barrier, and there is incredible original films out there. You're going to start seeing some of them next year, but I think what it is going to shift is the way we make films, the way we're telling stories. We're very focused on our own culture, and we don't really, when we're writing a film, when I'm writing a film, I'm thinking about the central audience that the film used to be. Whereas now, considering other cultures, considering other places, you're going to start telling different stories. And I think as a fundamental storytelling opportunity, we're going to go from local cinema to world cinema. And that's a much bigger stage, much bigger consideration of your audience. And that actually is a great good that can come from this across the board.
the distribution of the
Yeah.
the wealth and talent. We don't have that much time left, so I want to give you guys an opportunity to talk about the future. Obviously, when we talk to folks in the AI industry right now, they're like, "You ain't seen nothing yet. Like, this is like baby steps."
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here? What does it look like 2 years, 5 years down the road?
I'll let you do that one, Jim.
So I think there's massive opportunities. I think when you look at the spectrum of when, there's, when an idea is thought of all the way through to the, distribution of that film and all the steps in between, we're kind of mostly like, TrueSync is really about the distribution and making it more palatable to other audiences. And with Deep Editor, we're moving a little bit more into the creative, the edit suite, after you've captured everything. We actually think there's opportunity across the entire spectrum, all the way, from where you're creating and editing and iterating, all the way from, to where you're actually just, you have an idea and you're trying to formulate that idea and iterate on that. I think the biggest thing is that, and as Scott had alluded to and described, is that filmmaking or any creative process is really intended to be very iterative. To craft it, you have to go through many cycles and keep going. And with film, that's very, very difficult to do. It's very expensive, and you capture all of this material just so that you can iterate in the edit suite on just a fraction of that material. We think with AI, it can become an iterative process in a way that's efficient, cost-effective, and even more powerful.
Yeah, I think, and it's going to augment, I think, each stage. That's the way we look at it. It's kind of augmenting and giving you those extra tools for each stage of production, so you get a lot more out of it, and you're again able to iterate through it.
And it seems to me though that there's a lot of consent built in. There's a lot of consideration for you are still filming something that you then turn into something else, but ultimately you might not actually have to do that. You could just say, how would this film look if Jenny started it with this script in this setting and just render it, right?
I think, and if you look at the far-reaching kind of experimental things that go on there, sure. But I think what we really have learned is that the craft and tooling of the creatives of each stage. If you imagine essentially the kind of creative leads of a film, whether that's actors, cinematographer, director, editor, production designer, there is careful craft and artistry that goes into each of those choices. So you have to have the tools to be able to tweak it and to play with that artistry. So I don't see it as, I don't see any kind of artist ever wanting to not have those tools. So even though something might be able to spit out something that looks a bit like something and it's very different than that iterative, fine-tuned tweaking that you want to do as an artist to get something to a level of perfection.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much for giving us that insight in that demo. That was
thank you.
That was really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you, professors. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you.